Welcome to the House Environment Committee. We're going to be taking up draft 4.2 of S325 with our legislative council. Welcome back.
Ellen Tchaikovsky, Office of Legislative Counsel. Draft 4.2. So as with prior versions, the changes are in yellow. And then there is one thing that is bolded as a reminder, which is a potential appropriation and the public engagement plan. Other than that, it should be the same as the prior version. I'll start quickly on page 1, something that hasn't changed, but in section 3, the effective date section from Act 181. So you are getting rid of the effective dates for the things that you are repealing, but what is left in subdivision 1 is the effective date related to the new criterion 8C, which is here from the Senate at January 1, 2028. And I'm mentioning this because only the effective date is being changed here of when that law takes effect. The actual deadline for the rules related to criterion 8C have not changed previously to match that. And so that has been added to this draft on page 7. And so we're going to get to that momentarily, but they're separated by distance in this bill. So I just wanted to make sure you knew up front. We're also going to be referring to that. The first change in yellow is on page 4, and this is in the interim exemptions. This is the interim exemption 2A, which is the 50 units of housing, and you have had a couple different iterations of this language. So what's in here currently, I think, sort of combines what the Land Use Review Board was proposing and with what you were discussing. And so it has been broken into 2 sentences. So notwithstanding any other provision of law to the contrary, until January 1, 2028, no permit or permit amendment is required for the construction of housing projects such as cooperatives, condominiums, dwellings, or mobile homes with 50 units or fewer. Period. To qualify, the housing project, including any land incidental to the use of the housing project, such as lawns, parking lots, driveways, leach fields, and accessory buildings, shall be on 10 contiguous acres or less, located entirely within either the designated center with the 1/4 mile around it or the urbanized areas.
And then that language came from the LURB.
Yes, and you all had been discussing contiguous or disturbed, and so the contiguous came from your discussion yesterday.
Representative Austin.
Yeah, just, I had mentioned to you to change mobile homes to manufactured homes, since that seems like the language we're using now.
Sorry, where is it? Oh, there. Yeah, I got it. Yep.
Okay. Mobile homes is used a number of other times in Act 250. So we can change it here. You may want to consider that it's used in a number of other places as well, including in this section. It's in other places.
That thought then. Here. Excuse me. I understand, but
Yeah, no, just for consistency, it was like,
but if it's going to create an inconsistency,
Yeah.
we then have to.
yeah,
I could put it in our parking lot.
Yeah.
thank you.
Be great.
A very tiny technical question.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but should there be a comma after shall be before the on 10 to qualify, comma, the housing project, comma, and then there's a list that qualifies what the housing project is, comma. I'm sorry, not after shall be, but before the shall be.
Yeah.
Between the buildings and the shall be. So it's that whole little phrase there.
Right. It's the list.
See through buildings is like a qualifier on housing projects.
Sure. This hasn't gone to the editors yet either because I wrote it. Okay. So yes, okay.
Yep, thanks.
Other questions?
Just a brief one on the 10 contiguous acres. That could be 12, but 2 of the acres aren't buildable. Is that what this is intending to mean? We had conversation around that. Or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
May or may not be buildable, but the idea is to get the houses to be clustered.
Okay. All right. The next change is on page 7, and it's the criterion 8s I mentioned a minute ago. So currently, if the effective date for the criterion 8C forest blocks and habitat connectors in section 3 takes effect January 1, 2028. But the due date for the rules regarding the new criterion still are due June 15th. And so this language would change that. And so this says that the board shall file final proposed rules with the Secretary of State and LCAR on or before June 15th of next year, 2027.
Representative Pritchard.
So my question is, I know the LURB had sent us I think sent the committee something wanting to extend that to July 1st, 2028, right? If we, I see we made one of the changes, but we didn't. Was thinking that I'm
They
not sure
wanted
we
a
had.
year and a half, and we're giving them a year. And then we're lining up with the Senate delivery date.
So yes, it is different from what they have.
Okay. Is there a reason we aren't doing what or considering what they're asking? I mean, why would we not consider that?
I guess my feeling is that a year, this rulemaking is actually due right now, June 1st, 2026. And so if you look at it that way, getting a extension. And I think these rules are simpler than the others that were being stood up. And that a year is a reasonable amount. And it also lines up with the deliverable date, which is also around a lot of the dates that we are using in the bill for exemptions. Others have thoughts.
State.
Wondering, I mean, if they thought it was reasonable, why would they ask for it to be in July?
Representative Chapin.
They're a pretty new board. They just went through rulemaking that we just then, middle of it, just repealed. So, I guess they might think they need multiple years. I think we're saying the next year and next spring, this time next year, they could come back and say, we're not there yet. And why? And I'd rather urge them to get as far along on this as possible. Next year, personally.
All right, next, still on page 7, section 9 is the public engagement plan. So there are a couple of changes in here based on the conversation that you had yesterday. So still on or before January 15, 2027, the board shall contract with a non-governmental organization to develop a report with recommendations for a public engagement plan.
I was just trying to align the beginning of this section with the end where it says the report's due on this date. So we don't usually say recommendations are due. We usually say some report is pretty much standard language. I'm just trying to align it so it's not confusing.
Okay.
I do have a revised suggestion or whole section, but.
Should we walk through this and then have your, yeah,
Okay.
is it a significant rewrite or just a few?
It's really just section A.
Okay.
A significant rewrite of section A. But the end of this, you should walk through these. They'll be retained.
So then further down in this paragraph at the top of page 8, the semicolon is restored. And then also rewriting what you were just the language yesterday has been moved into another sentence that says the plan shall be designed to be inclusive and engage a full range of stakeholders. Yesterday I had the phrase inclusive of stakeholders.
So, I would suggest that we take section A and instead of having the land use review board be the entity that is responsible for the report, have the Vermont, have the Natural Resources Conservation Council, which is a state entity, be responsible for the report and be directed to contract with. I mean, this is just a decision for our committee to make. We just heard a proposal for this a little bit ago, but to contract with the Vermont Council on Rural Development and the Vermont Association of Conservation Districts and to develop a report outlining recommendations for public engagement plan in consultation with the Land Use Review Board and the Land Access and Opportunity Board, making sure the LURB and the LAOB are weighing in on that framework for an outreach and engagement. But so it's just our choice, I think, right now as to whether we want to direct the LURB to go and find a contractor or whether we want to direct the LURB to fund the council, which can then fund the two organizations we heard from earlier today, or whether we want to just direct those two organizations because we can. We did not know. I did not think we could directly fund VCRD 2 days ago or yesterday or couple of hours ago. What we heard this morning is that those organizations, because one of them is, they're both set up in federal statute, and one of them has a state entity that oversees their work. We can directly ask them to do this work.
Thank you. And so the state entity is not VCRD directly, but they're under a parent.
So what I heard was VCRD is is a 501c3. So it's really not it's a non-governmental entity, but it is it was created under federal statute for every state to have a rural development organization that does sort of the kind of work that they do. But they're coming in partnership with the RCDs,
Too many acronyms.
Too many acronyms. The conservation districts, and the conservation districts are set up under an entity called the Natural Resources Conservation Council, and that is a state entity set up in state statute, and they don't have any staff. They contract with the conservation districts to staff the council and carry out the work of the council. And so the council is the entity that we could directly send money to. They're already in and receive state money. They're already in the state budget. And we could add a little money to their line item so that they would have a capacity to contract with both VCRD and the Association of Conservation Districts to develop a plan, and then that plan would come back to us next January. That date has also been changed in here. We could then, they would be providing us a framework and, I'm gonna add timeline, and they would have to give us timeline and, estimates of what it would cost. So next session, the legislature could consider.
So I used to know this, but does the NRCC, the council, they have no staff and it's a volunteer board? How would they contract?
A contract already,
Who are they to do the contracting if they don't have staff?
who's on the council? I don't,
Or if they have no staff, I don't get how they're doing something.
well, they have an agreement with the conservation districts to provide the staffing for the council, not just. That's what I was
There has
trying
to be someone there to do the work is my point.
right, and right now yes, it's a little, circular.
Yes. Yeah.
Per their website,
Also,
structure and governance, the NRCC board consists of 9 voting members, which includes 6 representatives from conservation districts, organized by regions of neighboring conservation districts referred to as supervisory unions. There are several responsibilities to serve on the board, including interface with and provide feedback to the state and federal representatives attending NRCC meetings, helping execute the business of the NRCC, sharing policies and activities of the NRCC with the conservation districts and supervisory unions, and supervise and oversee annual election of district supervisors. There are 3 additional voting members of the NRCC, including the Secretary of Natural Resources, the Secretary of Agriculture, and the Director of UVM Extension.
it's interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. They have a diagram there.
Additionally, there are associate or non-voting members who provide support, assistance, and information and participate in discussions. They include the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service State Conservationist and the Director of the Vermont Association of Conservation Districts.
And they can act as a fiduciary for the conservation districts.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I don't know.
That's
Seems like what we're asking
Yes,
for them.
to do, yeah,
They do have a board, so.
yeah.
All right, what do folks think? Representative Austin?
Yeah, I would really like someone from the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission to be on it as well, because I mean, it states clearly that these people are experts in outreach to rural communities, but I would just like Chittenden County representative as well.
Chittenden County is part of one of the conservation districts.
Yeah, I know, but it seems like it's a little outweighed seniors.
But you're suggesting we amend, presuming that's in statute, that you want us to add a member to this organization's board?
No, to this, yeah,
And I think Representative Chapin is proposing to actually rewrite that already, right? Are you reframing the other sentence in subsection A?
Yes.
to the engagement.
But it doesn't mean we're adding, I just, yeah,
Yeah, so the Winooski Natural Resource Conservation District would cover Chittenden County.
Yeah.
It's Chittenden County, and
because
they're very active. I mean, I think you think you're an urban district, but you're not. There's a lot of, I mean, it's
Lot
like
of
we've been having
agriculture.
this conversation.
Yeah,
There's a very active conservation district. In fact, they have one of the best.
no, I
trees.
know that.
So they'll be on,
I just
they're already
feel
on
like
this
it's a
group.
very different, kind of, I'll go along with what you recommend, but I do feel like it's a very different demographic, you know, just in terms of enterprise and politics. I think it's a very different, section of Vermont and like this, like representation.
It'll have the same representation as everyone else.
because I'm not sure what body you're talking about, but this
Well,
part
this
is.
committee.
Yeah, there's not a committee.
There's no
There's no committee. That's what I'm trying to say. So,
Okay.
so this charges 2 organizations that we heard from this morning.
Yeah.
Both of which cover all of Vermont, 100%. to design a public engagement plan for us and for them to consult with both the Land Use Review Board and the Land Access and Opportunity Board, also two organizations of which have engagement statewide, to design that process. And in that, and the public engagement plan, so the rest of that section A, I'll just read it. I rewrote this a little bit because of the change. So the contractors shall ensure the plan would maintain neutrality on policy and political issues, utilize neutral facilitation for statewide democratic public engagement, and be designed to be inclusive and meaningfully engage a full range of stakeholders, including rural Vermont residents and landowners and historically marginalized communities. So I've been sort of taking pieces that have been important to different people and trying to make sure we're capturing a lot of that. So maybe there's a place in there to, because we're calling out rural residents and landowners, maybe you want something in there, but
Do we
there's
have
no
to state-
committee.
Do we have to state rural? I mean, can we just say communities in Vermont?
We don't have to state, just including Vermont residents and landowners.
That'd be great.
But I guess one of the points I was trying to make there, in addition to where that might fit, is that these two organizations are being tasked with providing us a plan about how to engage all kinds of stakeholders. And it's really their job to make sure the plan they present to us is very robust and inclusive. And then we get to look at it next year. Well, the future legislators that are here get to look at that next year and could decide this isn't inclusive enough. for Chittenden
Right,
County.
but why don't we do it ahead of time? Why don't we just take out rural?
Because personally, I tried to keep this as succinct as possible and really rely on their expertise for statewide public engagement and not, like, sometimes we do, we say the plan has to include.
She's asking
This,
just about
that,
the,
and this.
I think Representative Austin's just asking about the word rural.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, I think when I asked her, when she hadn't even thought about said, and that didn't even occur to me.
I think she was thinking more like Colchester.
What?
I think she was thinking more like Colchester. And I would imagine that most parts of Colchester wouldn't even,
I don't think she knows.
yeah. I don't know. I think she just wasn't prepared to exactly answer your question. I didn't. I mean, she did answer it like, I'm not. She couldn't answer. your
But we're talking about
question.
all of Vermont, right? We're talking about all.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
why do we have to put rural in there? Why can't we just say?
Only because rural Vermonters have been telling us for the last 2 months how uninvited and unincluded they felt. That's why I included it.
Yeah.
But now if you're speaking up for urban Vermonters and feeling now, you're saying now on behalf of this population, I feel like that's not being included, then let's just
We
get
should
rid of
just say,
the
we could
word
say,
rural.
we could say in all Vermont communities.
That would be great. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Because I don't think I haven't gotten one email from a constituent, which is saying,
Mm.
I don't know if that means they support, Act 181 or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Great. I'm trying to be inclusive, so.
great, thank you very much. Thanks,
Sure.
thank you very much.
All right, so the real question here is, do folks want to go like directly to contracting with via NRCC?
I support that idea.
Okay, so
You just said the NRC.
I said the NRCC,
Oh, NRCC.
the way that Ella has proposed.
Yes.
Moving on.
I'll need that language. Is it amending other parts of this section?
I, minimally, later sections need to be updated to say on or before January 15th, 2027, the council shall submit the report. And then there's a piece about, I guess I would recommend that in terms of appropriation, we put in up to 30,000 is appropriated from the general fund to the council. And is there a way to, like, when you,
It has to be a firm
it
dollar.
has to be a firm amount, okay. That's the number that they have suggested during lunch.
Be the final word on it. So.
Yes.
So the next section, section 10, is the creation of the Joint Legislative Environmental Oversight Committee. There is new language on page 10, their duties. So the committee shall meet regularly with the Land Use Review Board to ensure strong communications and coordination regarding the implementation of the statutes amended as part of 2024 Acts and Resolve number 181, how the permitting process under 10 VSA Chapter 151, Act 250 is working, and how the new board structure is working. The committee shall also meet regularly with the Agency of Natural Resources to learn about agency efforts to improve and better coordinate its permitting processes and coordinate efforts to further improvements to the process for applicants and outcomes for Vermonters. And meet regularly with is a little bit awkward. I mean, hear from, because it's a committee, maybe more, because this committee would be a public body, they would have to hold open meetings. So it wouldn't be like private meetings.
So what did you suggest?
Hear from?
Shall hear from the Land Use Review Board?
Yeah.
That means they don't have to meet. You could just hear from them.
Well, it would function as a standing committee would, so they would have hearings and so request their testimony. You could say that the Land Use Review Board and Agency of Natural Resources are required to testify at hearings of the committee.
I guess personally, I'm hoping that these engagements would be certainly hearing a lot from these two agencies, but also with time for sort of dialogue and like legislators to bring up things that they're hearing or have curiosity about. So I guess I don't really mind whatever the language is. I guess I'm just trying to put what the intention is out there so that you can help us figure out what language would be best. I did look at a lot of the current oversight committees and some of their agendas, and some of them are like 3 hours of just listening to reports from different state, folks at different state agencies. And while I'm sure that will be an important part of this, I guess I'm hoping it's not just hearings. So yeah, I'm curious if there's more room for more dialogue.
Go ahead, Representative Logan.
Yes, I mean, what we're doing here is a hearing. What we do here every day is a hearing, and we have dialogue all the time. So I think you're just using a term like a common use for describing a meeting that we hold and invite or require people to attend and talk with us.
Right. And I was also just trying to say, because this is a public body, it couldn't just be like hanging out privately.
Right.
So I'm sorry, you're suggesting changing out meet regularly with what?
Hear from? Or, I mean, I think you also kind of keep it, I found it's like, you all just don't like have
Meetings.
you don't just have conversations, everything you do is like on the public record, right? So.
I was just, when we were talking about the word hearing, I'm wondering if that is something that's defined.
No.
And the other word I'm wondering about is what regularly means.
It's just general understanding. It's not defined either.
I hear regularly.
Oh, I think I've
meet
already-
on the third Wednesday of the month, sort of like.
I was already planning to ask you to take that out.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Like it's already addressed at different place. How often we-
Is that?
Times it's in the previous page.
Yeah, and it had originally been 4, and then,
See?
right, some of us had argued we might want more flexibility, and then A&R asked for fewer, so I was thinking maybe we'd go with 6 and what's the difference?
Page 9.
We don't have to meet
8 times per year.
It's a May, so we could always meet less.
I think, why don't we just meet regular, or skip regularly and say meet with?
Right, there, but then in the other area where it says how many
And
times.
then line 13, we can say, we can also strike regularly, same page.
Yeah.
And then- Right.
And then on page 9, could we in line 19 say they meet at least 4 times per year during adjournment?
I suggest we say may meet 6, because it's already, we
Yeah.
already meet fewer and
And
we
may
already
meet
asked
more often.
for permission to meet more often. So
Yeah.
it's like pretty arbitrary. But
Okay. 6.
I was gonna split the difference.
Sorry, you're suggesting it's changed to 6?
I am. Split the difference between A and B plus for it to go back to 4.
My suggestion. Now the corrections, I still stand by. I'd much rather see this struck and have it put in your notebook for next session.
Duly noted. All right. Next.
The next change is on page 17. This is in section 12, 24 VSA 4348, the elements of the regional plan. So this change in yesterday's draft, at the top of page 17, bylaws is highlighted. In yesterday's draft, there was an additional sentence here about only those centers with areas eligible for historic register being eligible for the community investment program. So that sentence has been removed here, as well as the correlating sentence in the community investment program, which was on page 25. So both of those have been removed.
Any questions on that?
Just help me understand how village centers don't need public water, wastewater.
Right, that question.
I mean, they should have soils, right? I mean, I thought they needed either.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. Like, how is it, are we, Ellen, where, like, I feel like we already went through this, but maybe we need a reminder. How would they possibly designate growth area without or wastewater zoning or subdivision?
Because this is a policy choice, so that language is into this part of the statute.
We add soils? Or not?
Katie, do you have a thought on this?
Katie Gallagher with the Vermont Natural Resources Council. So this, well, making my way towards where you are. So the village, you're discussing village centers. These, yes, have been areas in the planned regional future land use categories that are intended to be the broadest category to bring in centers that may not have zoning or infrastructure. That is just how it has been written.
And I think also because the planned growth area category right after that may or may not serve as an overlay. And so the planned growth area has the requirements that they have planning or served by public water or wastewater. And then generally with walking distance excludes flood hazard areas. And so I think the planned growth areas are layered over other centers only if they have those additional categories, those additional criteria.
Yes, the answer is these are supposedly identified by the community as aspirational areas if you aspire to growth. Yeah.
So this would be places that they don't want growth, and if they do want growth, they need to.
Presumably, these are areas that the town has identified for growth, although, yeah, maybe through their town plan, they've identified them and they want to qualify for those stepped community investment programs.
Okay.
Okay, the next change is on page 21 into 22. So this is going back to what the Senate sent you on 24 VSA 4476, the formal review of regional planning commission decisions. You considered amending that statute. You considered having a report on that statute. This is going back to a repeat.
So a couple of us were talking with Ellen about this, about who the logical, the land use review board yesterday said they didn't feel like they were the right body to weigh in on it. So who is, and actually Ellen started to answer the question anyway. It became apparent that legislative council would be a good place for us to start the inquiry about what the current appeal processes are and whether there's a gap that we want to fill in a future legislative session.
Right, so I think as you've heard, the Land Use Review Board is taking over review of regional planning decisions. It doesn't currently have the appeal to the Supreme Court, which is one difference from the statute. The municipal planning chapter 117 has ability for the parties established in statute. They have the ability to appeal decisions on town plans and town bylaws. I would like to spend more time researching this, but I do think my quick-ish analysis over the last couple of days is that the part that is missing, if you were to repeal this statute, is the regional plans review of municipal plans and being able to appeal that decision. I don't think anywhere else in statute currently that decision is addressed. Yeah, so regional planning commissions review the municipal planning process to confirm it, as well as reviewing the actual plan for conformance with the regional plan. And so that decision by regional planning commissions is not currently reviewable or appealable.
Everyone good with that change? Yeah.
Right. So, oh, sorry.
Representative Morrow.
Question, Ellen.
Yes.
By repealing that, we don't have a formal appeal process. Are we looking to add one? Or is that part? Would that enable appeals? Of the regional approval of municipal plans?
Repealing this, no.
It doesn't either. So
Yes.
there's no, currently no plan. Like that's only half of the section, part of which was deleted. This wasn't.
Yeah.
I remember we had a long conversation about this.
Right, sorry. So the what else was I didn't mention, but you have heard about before is that statute operated based on the regional review panel. And that panel has not been in existence. So right now that review isn't happening or able to be sought because that body hasn't existed. Yeah. And so right now, so this is just a repeal, not adding to any of the other stuff. Okay. So on page 25 is the other change related to what I just told you about in the middle of page 25, the language regarding requiring the centers to have eligibility for historic register has been taken out of that paragraph. And so that's what,
Do we need this section anymore?
well, I can take out, yeah, this subdivision, I could take it out, but.
Yeah.
And then finally, there is a new section, a new report is being proposed related to the Community Investment Board. So on or before January 15 of each year, oh, sorry, this is page 26. This is the last piece of highlighting in the bill. Section 19, page 26. On or before January 15th of each year, the Vermont Community Investment Board, established in 24 VSA Chapter 139, shall submit a written report to the House Committees on Environment and on General and Housing, and the Senate Committees on Natural Resources and Energy, and on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs. The report shall include, at a minimum, a summary of the Community Investment Program's activities during the preceding fiscal year, including designations, steps, or other actions taken by the board that confer eligibility for or priority access to state funding, tax credits, or other program benefits. An analysis of the types of municipalities benefiting from the program by county, population size, onto page 27, future land use category or categories, state designation status, and whether the municipality contains areas eligible for Act 250 exemption through 2024 Acts and Resolves number 181. Any legislative, regulatory, or programmatic changes recommended by the board to improve the effectiveness, accessibility, and geographic equity of the community investment program. So I had one small flag. I apologize, I do not remember who sent me this language, so who it's directly being proposed by. On line 15, it says a summary of the program's activities, including designations and steps or other actions taken by the board. So I just wanted to clarify, the Community Investment Board will not be doing the designations. The designations happen as part of the Land Use Review Board process. But the Department of Housing and Community Development, and working with the board, will do the designation of the steps to increase the benefits. And so I put steps in there because I did think it was one of the things you would want to hear about specifically. I do feel like the way I sort of just put it in there is a little awkward, but I did just want to flag that I think the steps is one of the keys to who's getting the benefits.
Questions on this? Thoughts? Yeah.
And I'm gonna add a conjunction at the end, so that it's an and. So it's the 1, 2, 3 of what they need to include in the report. So those are the only changes in this bill, in today's draft.
Yeah, I have some study language for 2 studies. One would bring back a revised version of one of the studies that we removed, what was it called?
The discretionary review.
Discretionary review study. And the other would bring back a revised version of the former tier 2 study. I can send a Word doc to the whole committee
And Ellen.
and Ellen. Yeah, okay. Yes. Maybe
within that? Or is the AOFB piece? That the LAOB, the LURB has been working on accessory on-farm business, understanding how exemptions and 250 works with accessory on-farm businesses. And I think there's some pieces of that we'd like to maintain.
Yeah. Yes,
The language was supposed
Oh.
I,
Okay.
oh, okay, you got it. Great. And I'll send it via email as well.
Representative Tagliavia.
Or are we starting to get a little bit deep in the weeds?
We may be. Let's see what we have here.
It's kind of feeling like we were close and now
Yeah,
feeling
Yeah,
like we're
I feel
so
it.
close.
I get you.
Yep,
One of those pieces that Kate just mentioned was in the bill before.
both were in the bill.
At 1.2.
Yeah. And
We're just talking about putting that exact same verbiage back in.
no, it's different, so, yeah. I could,
So how would we find the edits that you've made in this document?
I have done,
Oh, they're highlighted.
okay, I did,
Can I ask Kate a question?
You may.
No, Kate, the tier two, what questions would you have? What would that be?
Let's see,
Oh,
let's see
yeah.
what let's just let her walk us through.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
okay, so if you can open the study language document on our committee page.
Do you want me to share my screen or no? Okay. Okay.
So we renamed, I renamed the study. I proposed a different study. So when S325 was introduced, there was municipal appeal language, a municipal appeal study language in that section of the bill that got replaced with this discretionary review of housing report. I actually think we could probably change the title to the municipal appeals and development review of housing report. The first section, so I've done a strike through and underline for everything we changed from S325 as passed by the Senate. So it adds the LAOB, the Vermont Association of Planning and Development, VAPTA, the Vermont Bar Association, and ANR as consultants to DHCD for the study. And then it includes a new section that's drawn from the language as introduced that would do a study on mechanisms for limiting appeals that allow municipalities to address legitimate concerns with projects, including commonly raised issues on appeal and procedural tools to limit duplicative or frivolous appeals. So getting at the heart of the issue, which is municipal appeals, a need to look at the municipal appeals process or development review appeals process. Then it goes back to the study that we saw as passed by the Senate and just kind of generalizes the language a little bit. So the department will report on the impacts of discretionary review on residential development. We could just say development review on residential development. The department shall consider the following, and instead of whether or not to establish a Vermont model code, just how to assist municipalities to develop clear and objective standards, including model codes. And the other pieces. And then in B, there strikes out the language about how to improve the efficiency of appeals of because we have a whole section on municipal appeals above. So just kind of simplifies the language, broadens the scope of this study. And yeah.
Can you just tell us why you want this back in here?
Yeah, I think we lost the language from S325 as introduced that brought up the issue of municipal appeals, and it's not being studied anywhere else. It is true. Yeah. Surprisingly. So the appeals study was on appeals to Act 250. But we heard a lot of conversation about issues with municipal appeals. And this language was in S325 originally, but got stripped out and replaced with this language that was basically
Meaning
the
the
language from-
Senate took it out.
the Senate took it out and replaced it with the language that had been suggested by Let's Build Homes. And then I think it would be helpful for the department to provide a report to us on the impacts of development review, municipal development review on residential development, positive, negative, and consider the possibility of helping municipalities develop clear and objective standards. If development review standards were clearer and more objective, we may not have as many issues with the development review process at the municipal level, and that could include a model code, but doesn't necessarily have to.
I don't want to get too far in the weeds. I want
Yeah.
to decide if we're doing this, but it says under A, timeliness, sequence, originality of the question or forum.
Right.
What does that mean to you?
I took the language directly out of S325, but I did ask for help on this, and I feel like, Katie, you might be able to help. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely have to know what the words mean.
Do you want me to?
Do you know? Do you have a sense of where they came from and why they're there, what they mean?
I don't remember, so for the record, John Groveman for the Vermont Natural Resources Account. I don't remember exactly where we came from. We may have written this. At the beginning.
Now.
When this issue came up, this is how S325 started, actually. It had none of the other things in it. Not even the extension of the deadlines. It actually started with this idea that came from the appeal study that the LURB had done. It was something that was discussed as looking at municipal appeals. People, have always raised issues with them. And so it was that, the study is, I think, as Representative Logan said, but timeliness, is how long that it takes to get through an appeal. Sequencing means, I think when appeals are consolidated or combined, like when there are other appeals that go along with the same project.
We've looked at that.
Originality of the question is, what is the issue? What are the issues that are being appealed with related to municipal zoning? And forum, are they coming from the DRB? Are they coming from the zoning administrator, planning commission, if there's not a development review board or a zoning board of adjustment? So I think that's what those terms mean.
So sorry, originality of the question needs to be studied because why?
I mean, it could probably be, I think it's like, what are the issues, basically, is what you're trying to say.
Right. Are they bringing up the same issue
Yeah,
over and
what are-
over again?
What
When
is,
it's
what are
already-
the issues and where they're being raised and like what?
Even
Part
read
of the
this
zoning.
list of examples. Cut it
Yeah,
out.
we could just
I-
cut that.
Just this-
Yeah, we-
I don't remember writing this
Yeah.
particularly, but,
how about we just shorten it to the most commonly raised issues on appeal? Semicolon, move on.
Sure.
Okay. Get that,
yeah, I mean, that's what we're trying to get. I mean, it's what
Yeah.
are the issues and where are they being raised?
yeah.
And
Can I ask about the language right above that? So it says mechanisms for limiting appeals that allow municipalities to address legitimate concerns. Don't you mean the opposite? Limiting appeals for things that don't address limiting, legitimate concerns?
Oh, yeah.
Rules that allow me
No, I think what it was intended to mean was that even if, if appeals were limited, there would still be tools for municipalities to address issues, even if,
Okay, so maybe that is
Yeah.
wrong. Maybe it's while allowing municipalities to address.
that would work. right?
Okay.
Yeah.
much more clear.
Yes.
Okay.
How do members feel about putting the study back in and including the appeals portion of it? Two questions, I just, about putting this back in. Representative North,
Have we asked DHCD if they would like to do this?
they wanted it in there,
They wanted it in there.
but I have questions about has anyone asked the Vermont Bar Association if they want in?
No,
Or,
the others were already in S 325 in this appeals study
Vermont Bar
language.
was?
No, except for the Vermont Bar Association.
Okay,
But there were no lawyers in the group,
Yeah.
which seemed
I see,
like a bad idea.
okay.
And they can choose not to, they can choose to opt out of consulting. It's not a requirement.
All right, Representative Chapin, then Austin.
I mean, I'm very open to putting it back in. I think this got a fair amount of I don't know how much. It got testimony on the Senate side. People weighed in, both the department and the NRC and Let's Grow or Let's Build Homes. So, I think there are entities that want to see some of this language. We didn't spend a lot of time on it. I think personally, what bothered me about it before was that it felt like, A, it could already happen. These entities could be working on this anyway, and B, and probably are, and B, it did feel sort of it made an assumption. It came with an assumption that discretionary review was bad. And so I don't disagree that in many cases it's a challenging factor that's making certain things much harder, but I think discretionary. So I appreciate that if we were going to look at this again, that it's making that more neutral and adding some of these pieces back in about on the municipal review. So I'm definitely open to keeping it at its point, and I do think it got a fair amount of testimony on the Senate side.
I'm not sure what
Got
you think that.
testimony.
That's cool.
Yes,
No more questions. Sorry, thank you. I think I understand what municipal appeals are, but can somebody remind me again what discretionary review actually means? I know we heard the definition.
I think it's sort of the standard way that towns review development, as opposed to having more clear zoning codes that are presumably less discretionary.
Discretionary.
Like form-based code is the
Right.
example people use.
If it checks all the boxes, then yes.
But discretionary review, is that like an official term? Okay, we're gonna have a discretionary review meeting. I mean, is that what? It's not like this.
It's new to me, but I guess
No, we don't use that term in the zoning statutes at all.
What would be more accurate or more descriptive term, better descriptive term?
I mean,
It's like ad hoc. Is that essentially what it means?
no, it's not.
No.
It's not ad
Kind
hoc.
of,
Okay.
yeah.
It's just more subjective.
Subjective. Should be subjective.
Okay.
The traffic is character of the area,
Yeah.
things
It's
that
the
aren't
typical,
measurable.
it's their
Traffic is
DRB
I would argue.
approval process. Yeah. And, saying, maybe we could make the standards clearer. Maybe we could adopt model codes. Maybe we could do things that improve the
Okay.
process.
That's
Improve the process.
Representative Austin.
Yeah. I was gonna say, as a planning board member, I don't want to go through all our regs. Thousands of regulations that we have and decide if they're discretionary. I mean, I think we do a really, and I assume most.
So
planning
this
boards-
isn't asking you to do that.
Yep,
So
you
Oh.
can if you want to. The
Oh, okay.
DHCD will develop tools
Yeah, and
if you want.
I'm just gonna clarify that anything that makes appeals less frivolous and time consuming and gets housing built, I am very supportive of. So it sounds like that's what this will do.
Yeah. Have you had appeals in Colchester?
More development. Yeah. We have one now for that Hazlet hotel, like, that's going way up. It's on its third appeal.
Okay, next.
Okay, next. The other is to bring back the tier 2 report. What was the tier 2 report? And in blue, the municipal delegation is highlighted because I was not confident that we wanted to use that term. So this pushes back the date that the report is due. And so it would be after the engagement, the community engagement process has been designed. It removes the section on addressing how to apply location-based jurisdiction to tier 2 areas, because obviously that's not relevant. So it keeps a lot of the language from the original report, and then it adds these 2 subsections, how to facilitate compact housing development in transition areas and how to comply with the public engagement plan as defined in the other section. And then everything else is the same, but it seemed like a big loss to lose that thinking that was going on, that we intended to go on. So this could be going on sort of like parallel with and support the community engagement process in some way.
All right. Thoughts on this?
So this is essentially the same thing that the putting a plan for a plan together on and.
Well, this is, and we may add things to it, but some of the feedback that we've gotten from folks that there's already a known lot of things that could go in, for lack of a better term, the bucket of tools for addressing the issues. And so this would be more of a clearinghouse of that, but would also look at things like how Act 250 and the changes we've made affect prime ag soils. We've heard a fair amount about. Yeah. Representative Logan.
Yeah, and I guess I'd say the other piece of it is that this is a, plan to engage all the institutional stakeholders like that. And then the community engagement plan is really about surfacing ideas from our community, who specifically property owners who could be potentially impacted by any changes to Act 250 or whatever land use regulation proposal. So it seems like it's coming at the question from both sides. And this would, I don't know, that those conducting the community engagement process could even bring potentially some of these ideas to communities and ask them what they think about them.
How to comply with the public engagement plan is defined. And how to comply with the public engagement plan that hasn't been defined yet.
Right.
That seems like a tricky question.
Or you could just say comply with the public engagement plan, because this study is coming back after the community engagement plan is defined. Now it's in 2028, coming back in 2028 instead of 2020.
Representative Chayton.
So if we move forward with what we discussed a little bit ago, LURB won't be involved in that community, the one that we're putting together.
Right.
In statute here won't be just, LURB would just be a sort of a stakeholder in that versus their own outreach, their own community engagement plan they have to do with the Environmental Justice Office. I'm wondering if it would make more sense. So something related to Act 250 and the LURB would just be related to their own outreach plan.
Well, the outreach plan for the land use review board would be anytime they are contemplating a change in their own procedures or rules. And this is more of a policy study. It's not really, it's not a community, it's not a, yeah,
I would just.
it's just a
recommend-
research, it's a research study rather than it's not this kind of thing that you would use your community engagement plan to,
So then I would just get rid of number 6.
Yeah,
Just-
too.
I don't think there's a.
I think we're trying.
you don't want them to be related in any way.
Sure, they need to
I
be. I'm
don't-
not even
And
like,
I
even
suppose the
date-wise.
community engagement plan could always engage with this process too, if they felt like that would be a good idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. In which case I might bump up the date. So. Representative Austin.
So just to, so this is not happening anywhere else?
No,
Okay. Because I thought we were looking at Axos, which we have heard a lot about. And I did want some focus on that. So, but I just thought it was, you were
Well,
looking
it's
at,
in there and we just took it out.
No, it's still in there. We just put it in there.
Community engagement.
Yeah.
In the community engagement,
right,
but it's a different, this would be the land use review board.
looking at
Just
Act
related to
250
Act-
related.
Looking at
Yeah.
Act 250. This series of questions and engaging with these institutional stakeholders rather than doing a community engagement process. So it's like a research
so the
process.
information would be different coming out of the community engagement process and this.
I would hope so. I mean, it's like a different perspective, like an institutional stakeholder, somebody who's like already engaged with all of this stuff on a routine basis versus someone who's living in rural Vermont on a parcel, has been in their family for several generations and has never engaged with Act 250 ever in their entire, never had to, because all they would be doing with their land would be like building a house or something like that. So it just seems like a different conversation and that we'd lose something by not having these folks in the conversation in any way, like we had originally intended.
I guess the other thing that's standing out to me here is the C list, which we brought over, thinking that we're going to expand this report and make it more focused on, I guess we have number 1, but that's just like a very long list of stakeholders.
It is. a long
It is.
list. Probably could shorten it up.
And we've had others that have requested to be in.
They're added.
I still struggle with sort of the narrowness and the breadth at the same time of all of this. I like what is right now in here, number 3. It's like review of the effectiveness of jurisdictional triggers for development of retail and service businesses outside of village centers in criterion 9L in addressing sprawl and strip development. So here are the things we want to hear about in terms of how well it does X. None of the other ones really have that. It's like recommended session. I mean, I would love to hear ideas about addressing forest fragmentation and fragmentation of rural and working lands. But like to what end isn't really specified in here. And I just wonder, what is the blurb like? I'm concerned about the vagueness of it and the process that we just went through with the blurb and sort of I'm struggling with that, and there's so many.
The
different
first two.
things in here. Like I wish
Yeah.
if we had a 1
3
or
and
2
4.
priorities in this list that we really wanted to hear from LURB about, and we know that they have the expertise and are already thinking a lot about it, that makes sense to me. And I know AOFB is one of those.
What if we do just stick to
3 and 4 and 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3, 4,
And then
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know if it's the LURB's job to facilitate compact housing development in transition areas. That's like a plan to me. I mean, if we just do like 2, 3, and 4, and then limit it,
So prime ag soils.
and it's very much focused on Act 250.
Yeah.
And then, Brooke, you're here. Since you did a deliverable for us, and we appreciated that work, talking about the engagement of the stakeholder group in that process. Probably wasn't this many stakeholders. This is a very, you can't see it perhaps, but it's a very long list of stakeholders that was taken from the tier 3 list, which is not maybe the right list. Or this, if particularly if we get rid of the working lands element of this report. So I guess maybe if you could just speak to how, I guess I'm wondering about the effort for the LURB to do a report, the interface between the stakeholders and the LURB in that process that you did.
We had several different.
For the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, my name is Brooke Dingledine. I'm a member of the Land Use Review Board, and Sarah Had, our vice chair, is also here with me today. So the stakeholder groups, I was in charge of the appeals study. We had wood products manufacturing study going on at the same time, as well as tier 3. And these were, we have the prescribed stakeholders for many of the different studies, and there was a huge amount of overlap. So one of the things that we had to be aware of was stakeholder fatigue, because we were going through the same folks over and over for all of these different processes that were involved in. I will say from the appeals study, my experience was we had a wonderful, even though it was a very large group of people, and we also involved public people as well, even though they were not specified. We thought that voice was very important, and it worked very well. But it's a huge undertaking to create, the meetings and to make sure everyone's available and all of that. So I personally it was not an impediment to having a large group of many voices, but these were very targeted questions and issues that we were addressing.
Yeah.
So, having the specificity without too much broad implications, the more specific we could hold in terms of any study or information we would like us to provide, it could be very helpful. We can take a look at what's in the actual language.
Can you also, then maybe this is a question for Sarah Had, remind me, I know we've asked, I'm sorry, but where you are in the tier 2 study process? You haven't started it, basically.
So Sarah Had, vice chair, Land Use Review Board, we did begin on AOFB, looking more at technical issues and our own internal processes and how we've applied it, how we might refine some of those interpretations. We had not taken a more expansive view on that, but we had begun work on the accessory environment business portion of that.
Okay.
And Chair, if I might just add, looking at 2, 3, and 4 on the list, the Primax soils, I know that the board is very interested in and very concerned about. That would certainly be an important aspect that we would be able to study. The AOFB, of course, we have done some work on that and are engaged in that in terms of determining what aspects to study into further. And I know that we did also testify at Senate Ag on a provision, on a proposal that we suggested was perhaps not the right change right at the moment to please allow us to complete the AOFB study so that it could be a comprehensive fix or a change to the statute once you got to that point after we reported to you. Commercial activities, you have AOFB, and then the last one is jurisdictional triggers for development of retail and service businesses. That would be helpful to know on 9L of what kind of timeline you're looking for on that. I think that's more, there needs to be more work done on that. I don't think that that's anything that we have focused on.
So yes, Sarah Had, Land Use Review Board, we began looking to see permit research to see if we could look at the permits that had addressed this specific thing. Because we're modernizing the permitting system, it's not as simple to pull out those case studies. And I think the other thing too would be, could we ask what sort of a timeline were you looking at for a deliverable on this?
Well, I mean, right now, the date is, it's 2028. in this language that Representative Logan has brought us, or is the date represented?
Right at the top of that section,
Top,
February
yeah.
14th, 2028.
And would it be all the stakeholders in each one of those, or could you choose a subset?
I think that's what we're talking about now. And I,
And a different
what
list.
I would like to know is what the language in the tier 2 study said before about stakeholder.
Yeah.
And there just one other piece of information that I'd like to share is that the AOF3 issue, we understand the real importance of that, and that is something that we will be moving forward regardless, because we do recognize how important it is. We have heard that voice and intend to pursue that opportunity.
I hear you on that, and it may interact with at least maybe sprawl, or, I mean, it's just kind of interesting, they may go together. Loss of ag soils and review of commercial outside of designated centers and accessory on farm business, they're very much intertwined. Potentially.
There was no stakeholder group attached to the tier 2 report. It was just a report from the land use review board.
Yeah. Thoughts on this report? Representative Austin.
I think there's too many, let's say, many agencies. It just seems like there has to be a way that you could cut that in half and still get the information that you need. I don't know, I'm just guessing, but that just.
Well, we just heard that.
Yeah.
The original report had none, so.
Right.
Representative Logan.
Could we just allow
Blurb to
the
engage the
board to
appropriate
engage
stakeholders.
to, engage the
That would be
appropriate stakeholders?
I realize that's a large license and that's what Representative Chapin, go ahead.
Well, no, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure we actually added that stakeholder group when we were starting to move towards turning this into
Yeah.
a much broader.
Yeah, that's
You're
what I
right,
said.
process that was
Yeah.
more public engagement
Yep.
process. So, sorry.
And I just didn't even,
We
I didn't even
we
look at
brought it-
that.
we brought
Yeah,
it over
if
from
this
the
is
tier
really
3.
just blurb, understand, like looking at Act 250, how it works right now, how to make improvements, making those recommendations. I fully encourage them to engage any stakeholders that
Yeah.
they want to. And I should go back to the.
Yeah.
Or add just a clause that says,
Engaged.
as needed.
All right, Representative Logan.
So my other question is the beginning, the description of the report, where it says shall report recommendations to address Act 250 jurisdiction at blah, blah, blah. That, I feel like,
Maybe we should just leave it at that
Delete.
sentence.
I don't think
Shall
it's
we-
It's
jurisdiction.
not jurisdiction.
yeah, it's not,
It's like
it's a, yeah,
addressing efficiencies and
Address
effectiveness and efficiencies. I think
Hmm.
one or the other or both.
Recommendations.
shall report
What about recommendation
recommendations
to address the following?
to address the, yes,
Yeah, well,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah, you could say forget review. and
yeah,
just-
the effectiveness,
effectiveness.
whether and how.
And you can make it more succinct,
Yes.
I suspect.
Well, and I was wondering if you needed to amend this existing report or if you wanted to just start over.
I just copied and pasted and then I worked from there. So,
Yeah, start over.
yeah, just start over.
We've already repealed it.
Yeah.
And so, what is the title of this going to be?
Promote intact working lands and conservation of critical natural resources. Report. Do we still like that title?
It's really more of an effectiveness report.
Tools to promote, yeah.
Report.
Tools.
Yeah,
Just
no, it isn't, yeah,
Tool is Act 250, the way it's
Yeah.
currently has jurisdiction. So it's not about changing jurisdiction or adding tools. It's really about encouraging intact working lands.
yeah.
I guess that's where I'm really confused about this whole thing and it's making me
Right.
very,
What's the
very
purpose?
nervous about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Why, I mean, we can't even agree on a title because we all go in different directions. So
I say we keep section XX, the new one, section 10. Don't include it.
This seems really valuable to me, obviously.
So these are outstanding issues
Yeah,
of Act 250 or, yeah,
2, 3, and 4 are.
yeah.
yeah, it's a thing they were in there for a reason. And I would, I think,
Or how about a working plans report? Something like that. Because that's really what we're talking about.
But isn't it, I mean, as it currently reads, it's specifically the effectiveness of Act 250 in doing these
in
things,
addressing these things.
right?
Yeah, I like working lands report as the title, and I think we should be clear about how Representative Barth just described, but in A.
In the intent.
Yes.
Two. Okay, yeah.
Oh, there's multiple.
So it's the effect, yeah, so little a at the beginning, it's the effectiveness of Act 250 in accomplishing protection of primary ag soils would be one.
Right. Yeah,
Development of retail services and business centers outside village centers
yeah.
be the second one. And on-farm business.
Yes, exactly. It would be really short.
And then we've got that last one, facilitating compact housing development and transition areas.
Yeah, I think we're taking that one out. And the, yes, and the public engagement. Yeah,
Less is more.
yeah.
Well, guess I lost you. You said did you mean little a?
Little A.
Yes, little
Yep.
a.
Oh, and not have the list below?
No, have the list
Okay.
below.
Okay,
This below is 3.
I think we have an idea. So I think we'll take a break and ask Ellen to draft changes that we talked about. And let Kate Logan work with you on what was just agreed to, and we can look at that again. How much time would you like for that? Why don't we give you a half an hour, but if you need less, you can let us know.
Okay.
So we'll come back at 4, but hopefully it'll be sooner. Great, thank you.
The goal is going to keep this narrow focus as possible. You've outlined a couple of topics. Great.